The case of YNW Melly, whose real name is Jamel Maurice Demons, has gripped the public for years, marked by a complex web of legal battles, media frenzy, and intense debate over justice, art, and systemic issues within the criminal justice system. For over 6 years, Melly has been incarcerated, awaiting a verdict in a double murder case that has kept him in limbo, sparking speculation, outrage, and intrigue. The charges stem from the 2018 deaths of his close friends, Anthony Williams, YNW Sackchaser, and Christopher Thomas Jr., YNW Juvie, in what was initially reported as a drive-by shooting but later alleged to be a calculated act by Melly himself, with Cortland Henry YNW Bordelon as his accomplice. The prolonged detention, the evidence presented, and the use of Melly's music as incriminating material have fueled discussions about fairness, the treatment of high-profile defendants, and the controversial practice of using rap lyrics in court. As the case unfolds, it draws parallels to other legal sagas, like that of Tamer Traven McIntyre TK, and raises broader questions about the balance between public safety and the rights of the accused. Melly's journey began in Gifford, a small South Florida community, where he was born on May 1, 1999. From a young age, he was drawn to music, inspired by artists like Chris Brown and Michael Jackson. His passion for music was evident early on, but so was a troubling fascination with firearms. In a documentary, Melly recounted finding a revolver under his uncle's couch in 4th grade, an event that shaped his relationship with guns. He admitted to carrying the weapon everywhere, including to school, a choice that foreshadowed his later legal troubles. By 16, Melly faced his first serious charges in October 2015, accused of aggravated assault and discharging a firearm in public after allegedly shooting at 3 students near his high school. This incident inspired his haunting track, "Murder on My Mind," a song that would later become both a career-defining hit and a point of contention in his legal battles. "On My Mind," released in March 2017, that catapulted him to fame. The song's raw, diary-like narrative about violence and inner turmoil resonated deeply, earning gold and multi-platinum certifications. Yet, its vivid imagery would later be scrutinized as prosecutors sought to use it as evidence of his mindset and motives. The tragedy at the heart of Melly's case occurred on October 26, 2018, when Williams and Thomas were fatally shot in South Florida. Melly initially claimed the deaths resulted from a drive-by shooting, portraying himself and his friends as victims of random violence. The story spread quickly, amplified by social media and news outlets, but investigators grew skeptical. Ballistic evidence suggested the shots were fired from inside the vehicle, not from an external source, and the bullets matched a firearm registered to Melly. Witnesses reported seeing him with a gun that night and claimed he made threatening remarks toward his friends. Surveillance footage showed Melly and his crew entering a Jeep before the shooting, and hours later, police found the vehicle with Williams and Thomas dead from gunshot wounds. No gunpowder residue was found on Melly, and the murder weapon was never recovered, but DNA possibly linked to him was detected on the rear passenger door handle, where the shots were believed to have originated. Phone records further complicated Melly's narrative, placing his and Bordelon's devices near the crime scene, though location services on Melly's phone were disabled, preventing precise tracking. Surveillance footage also captured Melly being picked up by rapper Frito Bang after the incident, adding another layer to the timeline. The prosecution introduced digital evidence, including an Instagram exchange where Melly allegedly wrote, "I did that," in response to a friend's inquiry about his well-being. Melly's defense attorney, Stuart Adelstein, argued the message was ambiguous, noting Melly's typical use of "dat" instead of "that," though prosecutors countered with examples of Melly using standard spelling elsewhere, including in his lyrics. The prosecution also leaned heavily on Melly's alleged ties to the G Shine Bloods, a subset of the Bloods gang. Gang expert Danny Polo testified that Melly was deeply involved, using gang lingo like herc, a term akin to bro, and displaying gang signs in photos and texts. Prosecutors suggested the murders might be gang-related, though they didn't specify a clear motive. This claim, combined with plans to introduce 55 of Melly's songs, 18 audio files, 14 YouTube videos, and 4 album covers as evidence in his retrial, has sparked significant controversy. "Murder on My Mind" is central to their case, with prosecutors arguing its lyrics reflect Melly's state of mind and potential intent. This tactic mirrors other high-profile cases, like the YSL RICO indictment against Young Thug, where lyrics were used to allege gang activity and conspiracy. Critics argue this practice unfairly targets hip-hop artists, often relying on stereotypes and racial biases to sway juries. In response, artists like Jay-Z and Fat Joe have supported legislative efforts, such as New York's Senate Bill S. 7527, to limit the use of rap lyrics in court, arguing they are artistic expression, not literal confessions. The prolonged pre-trial detention of Melly, now exceeding 6 years, has fueled public debate about the fairness of the justice system. His defense team repeatedly sought bond, arguing he posed no flight risk and deserved freedom while awaiting trial. The prosecution, however, cited the severity of the first-degree murder charges and the risk of Melly fleeing or intimidating witnesses, drawing parallels to the case of Tay-K. In 2016, Tay-K was charged with capital murder for a home invasion and placed under house arrest. He cut off his ankle monitor, fled, and became a fugitive, documenting his life on the run through social media and his viral song, "The Race." During this period, he was linked to another murder in San Antonio, adding to his charges. Captured in 2017, Tay-K was later convicted and sentenced to 55 years for the 2016 murder, with additional time for robbery and a pending capital murder charge. Prosecutors in Melly's case fear a similar outcome, arguing that his fame and resources could enable him to evade justice. Melly's detention has had profound personal and professional impacts. Legally, it has given his team time to build a defense, but it has also isolated him, limiting communication with his attorneys and access to resources. Professionally, it has halted his ability to record, tour, or capitalize on his rising fame, stalling a career that was on the cusp of mainstream success. Public opinion is deeply divided. Supporters, rallying under hashtags like #FreeNoMelly, argue he's being punished without a conviction, pointing to the lack of definitive evidence like the murder weapon or conclusive DNA. Critics, however, emphasize the gravity of the charges and the need to protect the community, citing the victims' families' quest for justice. The victims, Williams and Thomas, were more than just names in a case. Both were aspiring artists with dreams of uplifting their community. Thomas, known as YNW Juvie, was described as gentle and passionate about music, seeking to escape the violence around him. Williams, or YNW Sackchaser, was an outgoing entrepreneur with plans to create opportunities for young artists. Their deaths left a void in their families and community, compounding the tragedy with the media circus surrounding Melly's case. The family's grief has been overshadowed by public speculation, yet their loss remains a stark reminder of the stakes involved. Judicial decisions in Melly's case reflect broader systemic issues. Denying bond in first-degree murder cases is common due to the severity of the charges and concerns about flight risk or public safety. Prosecutors may also use detention as leverage to pressure defendants into plea deals, a tactic seen in high-stakes cases. However, prolonged detention can hinder a defendant's ability to prepare a defense, raising questions about fairness. In contrast, Suge Knight, facing similar charges in California, was granted a $25 million bond, later reduced to $10 million, though he couldn't post it. Knight's case highlighted similar debates about health, community ties, and public safety, yet the outcome differed, underscoring inconsistencies in judicial discretion. The use of rap lyrics as evidence remains a contentious issue. Cases like Bobby Shmurda's, where lyrics were scrutinized, and Draco the Ruler's, where they were used despite his acquittal, highlight the risks of conflating art with criminality. New York's proposed legislation, supported by Jay-Z and others, seeks to require a stronger factual link between lyrics and crimes, arguing that current practices perpetuate systemic racism. As Melly's retrial approaches, the inclusion of his music will likely intensify these debates, with implications for how hip-hop is treated in the legal system.